Samuel H. Boardman State Scenic Corridor near Brookings, Oregon. And this is a card that I painted for my brother Bill, who lives about 90 miles north of this place. So I'll show you how I painted this, and I might have to wash out that little area right there. That looks a little bit funky to me. So I might have to wash that out. But right now you're going to see how I did it this way. So after the fact, you won't see it. I'll do it like off camera, but I think I'll wash that out a little bit. It's a little, I was trying to create like a little orange glow in the sky, and I think that messed it up. But anyway, it's a place in Oregon. If you look at it like that, that looks pretty good. That's a better composition maybe. Then anyway, the whole sky. Anyway, so this is a vertical one, obviously. And it didn't take that long to paint it, really. And the real trick was to get the haze, the misty area beneath that distant mountain. And now I'm gonna have to clean that up. See, that's the part right there that's bothering me. There's usually something in every painting that I say, oh man, I messed up on that, or oh man, I should fix that, or next time I'm gonna make sure I don't do that. There's always something. There's always something along those lines. So, all right, enough of me talking. Let me show you how I did this one. And that's gonna be gone, but you won't see it gone because, well, maybe it will. Maybe I can put it at the end somewhere. Yeah, I'll see if I can fix it. All right, I'll be back in a second to show you the video of how I painted this. All right, let's get started. This is another vertical one, as you can tell. And I'm going to start with water. And this is a place about 90 miles from where my brother Bill lives. And his wife, Norma. Bill and Norma. They live out in Oregon. Or, as I'm told, the correct pronunciation, Oregon. Oregon. I've always said it wrong all my life. And this is called, let me get these little mountains right. You can't see it, but I'm trying to get these little mountains in the background. This is called, hold on, I have it on here somewhere. I've never been here. It's called Samuel H. Boardman State Scenic Corridor near Brookings, Oregon. Yes, and this is about 90 miles south of where my brother and his wife live. And I want to make the sky a little hint of orange, I think. Let's see how I can do that here. I mean, very, very light, very watered down, like that. Just a very watered down hint of orange. So I've never been here before. In fact, I've never been to Oregon before. My brother is a doctor, and he's a professor at Oregon State University. And he teaches veterinary medicine. How cool is that, huh? So, I brag about him because he's my younger brother. He's 2 years younger than me. But he's so much more mature than me. I've always been kind of immature. Let me see if I can put a little blue in there if I'm going to regret that. The problem with adding blue to it is it's going to turn it green. Yeah, it's just a little hint of it. That's okay. Just a little hint of that. Yeah, he's very smart, very accomplished, and very proud of my brother and my other brother. My other brother, Tom, She lives here in my area, and he is older than me, and he retired from the Air Force, and that's pretty impressive too. I'm pretty proud of both of them. So as long as I'm talking about my siblings, I might as well tell you about the other two. The other two are no longer with us. I hope that they are enjoying the afterlife. It's something weird. It's a weird thing to say, isn't it? But I do hope that. They are Bob, who's 2 years older than me. And he was a genius when it came to cars. Yeah, his thing was cars. Remember the other day I did a painting of a car? Well, I was thinking about him the whole time I was painting it. And then my other sibling, who is also no longer with us, is my sister, Doreen. And Doreen was a very talented person in art. She was a very talented person in poetry. Maybe that's why I like to put poetry into these videos. Maybe. I never thought of that. Maybe she's influencing me from the great beyond. But she was just a sweet woman. She died. She was 7 years younger than me. 7 years. You know, she died young. So you just never know. And I am proud of her too. She loved horses. Oh my gosh. Doreen loved horses. Alright, now I'm trying to make this is the water here. The water is the water. Just trying to give it a little hint of color. Yeah, Doreen loved horses. In fact, here's an interesting little odd thing. I used to drive her to her horseback riding lessons, to a stable. And this area that I live in Florida, is very well known as a place for horses. And you know that stable that I used to drive her to is no longer here. Do you know what's here? In that spot? Homes. I live in a home that I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think this home I'm in is on the same land where my sister used to take horseback lessons. Isn't that something? I used to drive her to those horseback lessons. So anyway, I have a brother Bill who lives in Oregon, which is where I'm painting, and a brother Tom who lives here in Ocala. And those are my only two siblings that are left. And that's all I have to say about that. Except that one day I'd like to go visit Bill, my brother Bill. Let me tell you about my plan to visit him. Are you familiar with the Pacific Coast Highway? Well, the Pacific Coast Highway runs along the Pacific Coast. I guess you could figure that out from the name. And how come I can't get any blue out of that? I'm trying to get some blue-green here. Trying to get some blue-green going over here. There we go. So the Pacific Coast Highway runs along the Pacific Coast, and I'm familiar with the stretch of it down by Santa Monica. That's the area I lived in for a little while. And when I lived there, speaking of my brother Bob, I lived with him in Santa Monica. And so the Pacific Coast Highway is right there, right on the edge of the water, of the ocean, I should say. It just, it goes through Malibu and through Santa Monica, and I think it goes all the way down to San Diego. I don't know, but it goes all the way up the coast. And my bucket list item is to rent. This is kind of funny. I got a fun little anecdote to this. To rent a convertible. I know that sounds weird, right? I'm 70 years old. I'm going to rent a convertible, and I want to drive it up the Pacific Coast Highway from Santa Monica or somewhere near Los Angeles, and take it all the way to see Bill and Norma up in Oregon. And I would pass this place right here if I did that. If I did what I just said, I would pass this place. So that's my bucket list idea. And Robin would come, of course, with me. We would do it together, and she would wear her hair in a kerchief. We even have that part imagined. A kerchief. Just like in the old movies, where the ladies would sit in a convertible and the kerchief would be flying in the wind. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm picturing. That's what we're both picturing. You think it's going to happen one day? You think so? Well, I don't know. What does John Lennon say? Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. I believe that's true. I liked John Lennon a lot. I liked who he was. I liked how he was. I didn't agree with everything he said. Like in his song, Imagine, he's trying to persuade us to believe that there is no heaven. When he says, imagine there's no heaven. I don't think he's right. And I don't think he stayed with that belief either. I don't think so, because in later songs, he talks about saying a little prayer with his newborn son, Sean. He talks about that in the song. He says, say a little prayer. This song, Beautiful Boy. Beautiful Boy is a beautiful song. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing it. But it's a beautiful song John Lennon wrote for Sean. And in it he says, say a little prayer before you go to sleep. Say a little prayer before you go to sleep. So this little hill right here, this looks like it goes all the way to the top. To the top of the car, well, to the top of this mountain anyway back here. Yeah, I'm not going to try to duplicate it exactly, but you see all these little nooks and crannies in the rock. I watched a video one time, and there was an artist, and you may have seen it also, and he was showing how to make rocks in paintings, and he was using sort of like plastic wrap, like saran wrap. I don't know if it's called saran wrap or that's a brand name, right? But anyway, he was using saran wrap of some sort, and it was pretty cool. The results he got from it. I don't know, cellophane wrap. That's the actual generic name. So if you look that up, you might find it. And he pushed it down, and then he let it dry. And when he pulled the cellophane wrap up, oh man, it looked really good. So I don't have that technique. I could probably learn it though, but I haven't learned it. All right, let me try to make this a little bit. So this has got to be much darker over here. And back here, I think some of these things, has to be some little rocks that are poking up in the water. Similar to that place that I painted the other day in Oregon, where the fjords, the Kenai fjords. Remember I painted that one. Alright, I think what I need to do is I need to take one of these smaller brushes and push some water around a little bit, just to get that misty look over here. I want this to be misty. I don't want a defined line. Let's let the water do its thing. Let watercolor be watercolor. So Bill, my brother Bill, who lives out here, he was, like I say, my younger brother. He is my younger brother. And when we were kids, we would always imagine that we would go camping together. And you know, I've never gone camping with him. So maybe if I get out there, maybe I'll go camping with him. It's funny how you remember some of the things that you did when you were children. See how that water has taken that paint and just making it very hazy. I like that. I need to take some of that color and bring it over here. Oh, I got plenty of it up here. Let me just take some of that, put it down here in this basin. There's a basin down here, there's some waves here. Just to create more of an illusion of water. Maybe I can add a little bit more blue to that. Try to get a little bit of blue-green going on down here. Down here you can see the waves, you can see the caps where the water is rushing through. Yesterday, Rob and I took a drive down to Winter Haven, Florida. The reason we went there is because there's a store down there that sells props from Disney World. It's so interesting if you're a Disney person. Now, I'm really not a Disney person. However, we have a lot of people in our gift-giving list that are Disney people, and they have stuff like not like your normal souvenir shop, although there's some things that you might consider normal, but they have stuff like a chair that was in the Haunted Mansion, or like a lamp that was in the Grand Floridian Hotel. Yeah, they got stuff like that. They have posters from movies, like the original posters that were hanging up in the theaters. They got a lot of stuff from different movies. Star Wars is there, and Nightmare Before Christmas seems to be a popular one. And there was a lot of that going on down there. So, alright, now let's take some of this. Put some of this over here. Very light. It's practically white, just like the sky is practically white. Probably have to add some more color to those little islands out there. They kind of faded. They kind of faded in the mist. Little wisps of hint of water. And as the water comes into this little cove right here, it becomes more of a solid color. Yeah, this is the delicate part. This is the part you just have to be real careful. Trying not to have to use gouache, but I will if I need to. So that looks pretty good. All right, now let's see if I can make these little rock formations a little more defined. No, it's still too wet. I gotta wait for it to dry. All right, wait for it to dry. I'll put some down, see how it spreads. It might work out without doing it. Maybe I don't have to wait for it to dry. That's pretty cool. That's what it looks like, the water right there. I think so. All right, now, since this is dried, I'm going to add some more darkness to it. Maybe I'll add some orange to it too. Give it more of that orangish brown look in some areas. So we went to that Disney store I was telling you about, and that was kind of fun. Even though I'm not a real Disney guy, I did enjoy going to the store. You know, I did enjoy Disney when I was younger. I mean, way younger. And I don't mean a little kid. I mean, like in my 20s, I enjoyed it. You know, I enjoy. You know what I enjoyed about Disney? My favorite years for Disney are really not when I was a kid. My favorite years at Disney were when my son was a kid. Oh my gosh. And I share something with you. When I did the radio show with Robin, we used to get free tickets to Disney all the time. Oh my gosh. That was unbelievable. And at that time, you know, we didn't make that much money in radio. I don't know. We were small-time radio, of course. And so getting free tickets to the parks was very welcome, very cool. And so I used to be able to take my son Alex to Disney World, to Universal Studios, to Epcot, and we went to what else did we go? Wet and Wild, or the water parks. There was a place called Splendid China, which isn't there anymore, but it was very, very cool because they had these Chinese acrobats that would put on these amazing shows. I don't know how come more people didn't go there. It was one of those attractions that just didn't get the audiences that they really should have got. And I tried, as a radio announcer, I tried to tell every listener, you got to go to this place. It's really nice. And we had so many free tickets. We used the free tickets for ourselves, but we also, of course, gave the tickets away on the air. And a lot of people won them, and I suppose they went. There's no way to know, you know, when you give tickets away if people actually use them or not. But it was a great place too. It was a really fun one. So anyway, so I used to go with my son to these places, and Robin's children also. Alex is a lot younger than Robin's children, but they were still kids. They were still teenagers, and they enjoyed going to those places too. One of my favorite times was when I went to Mickey's Very Merry Christmas. And that particular night, it was a nighttime one, so they only allowed a certain number of people in the park. I think 5,000 was the limit, which sounds like a lot, but in a park that big, It's really not that much. And so we went in and just, it was like we had the place to ourselves. And they had hot chocolate, and it was Christmassy theme. Everything was Christmassy. And they gave away hot chocolate and chocolate chip cookies every street corner, to your heart's desire. And they were only open that night for 5 hours, a 5-hour special event. And we went as radio hosts, because Mickey's Very Merry Christmas wasn't only that night, it was like a whole season. But they wanted the radio people to talk about it. And so we went, and did we talk about it. Oh my gosh, we loved it. And guess what, that particular night, guess what? I know this is Florida, but that particular night, it was legitimately cold. You see pictures from that day, and you see us and the kids Robin and I and the kids in our warm clothing. So that's a fun memory for me. Very fun. All right, let's get to this side now. This seems to be the star of the show. Actually, the ocean seems to be the star of the show. And we can make this a little bit darker. Yeah, this is Samuel H. Boardman State Scenic Corridor. I have some information about it in front of me on the internet. I'll take a moment after I get some of these trees down. See, that part right there has a little bit of orange on it. That's why I put that orange there. So it says here that this place is craggy bluffs, secluded beaches, and offshore rock formations. 12 ocean-hugging miles of Samuel H. Boardman State Scenic Corridor between Brookings and Gold Beach along Highway 101. I wonder if Highway 101 is different than the Pacific Coast Highway. I don't know. It says the land for this park was acquired mostly between 1949 and 1957 by purchase from private owners and the U.S. Bureau of Land Management. In 1950, Borax Consolidated of London gave 304.10 acres for the park and 62.90 acres for right-of-way on the relocated Oregon Coast Highway. Many of the tracts had arrangements for the removal of timber and some for sheep grazing. Samuel H. Boardman, the first Oregon State Park Superintendent, served from 1929 to 1950. So he's who the park is named after. Well, that's interesting. All right, we're working here. Trying to get this thing done. Trying to get this card. Guess who I'm going to give this card to? My brother, of course. Of course, why would I give it to anybody else? I get some big tall trees here coming up out of this rock. Big tall trees. Maybe even taller than that. And some of the top branches go up, and then the lower branches come down. I'm using this, speaking of craggly rocks, I'm using a craggly brush to paint this tree, paint everything. This brush is coming in very handy. It's doing a good job of making these trees. They're not completely full. I'm noticing that these trees have a lot of empty spaces underneath them. So there's one tree. Looks like there's another one that pops out of the rock over here. It's kind of cool. Some of that card is, the paper is still wet, so it's causing it to bleed. It's okay. I think it's working. I don't see another tree there, but I'm going to put one there. So if you've been to this area, maybe it's started to look familiar to you now that I'm almost done with the painting. A little bit of a rock formation right here I didn't notice earlier, poking out. Almost looks like a cliff where you could probably climb on if you were skilled as a climber. Okay, now a few more shadows here. Get some of that light look like it's coming through. Alright, I think I'm done. Let me smear this around. Just blend it in, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it too much because obviously I'm not painting the back of the card. Whoops, 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 don't go ahead. Let me add this a little bit more darkness here. I just spread it around. The only thing I think I want to change, but the sky looks a little bit too white to me. So I'm going to try to add a little bit more orange to it, I think. Just a little bit more. Give it a little color. Let the water spread. Maybe even include it in on the mountains in the background. Yeah, maybe some of that color is in the water too. I don't know. I hope I'm not messing it up. Yeah, just like that. I think that's good. Just a little bit of that orange haze. I'm going to let it dry. I think I'm going to use a little bit of gouache to create some lines, some white lines there. So let me let it dry and I'll be right back. Okay, it's dry. What I want to do is add a little bit of white, like right along the edge of the water down there, where the water is hitting the rocks, because it would be, you know, creating that look of waves against the rocks. I just didn't quite get it right with leaving the white from the paper. But it probably was okay to leave it the way I did, the way it was, but I don't know, If I looked at it in the future, I would say, why didn't I add white to that? Why didn't I? You do that too with your paintings. Why didn't I think of adding white to that? Or I should have. Always I should have. This is what I should have done. This is what I didn't do. I think that looks better now. It was just a little bit. Just a little bit of white right there. That's all I needed to do. I feel like I want to make some of these trees and things a little bit more stark, more darkness. So let me get that little brush and add a little bit of darkness to these trees. A little bit back and forth. So I don't know if the reason these paints do this is because they're cheap student grade paints, because I know some of you have told me that. So one day I'll have to invest money in the more expensive paints. But it could be that's what it is. But I think the solution for me anyway is when they dry looking faded like this seems to have done, the solution is to just add another layer. And then I'm happier with it. There is a lot of truth to using more professional grade things. I mean, obviously that's true for a lot of things. In the music world, I know for a fact that you pay a little bit more money, or a lot more money, for like a Martin guitar, and you're probably going to be happier with the sound. Although not always. That I think I have an old guitar that's just sounds wonderful. Just a really cool sounding guitar, and I don't think I paid much money for it. And I don't think it has a brand name that's noticeable. I don't even know what it's called, to be honest. Yeah, I see more twigs sticking out of this rock, by the way. Now up here, let's get this one a little bit more darkness to it. Yeah, so the more you spend sometimes, not always, but sometimes. But I think you can make up for it sometimes with paint. Like this, in this case anyway, you can paint over it, and then that tendency to fade, or have that faded look. Sometimes that faded look works on, in your favor too, by the way. A little more tree down here too. See, that one's okay because it's farther away, but these ones are close to the viewer. I want them to be more standoutish. Where would you go if a magic genie told you you can have one wish, but it can't be a thing? It has to be a place you visit. Like, where would you say, oh, I'd like to visit? You can't go back in time. You can't wish for that. And you can't wish for a thing. You can't wish for a car or money. All you can wish for is a place. Like, before I die, I would love to see. What would you like to see? And maybe after we die, maybe we get to see anything we want to see. I don't know. But let's just stick with my theme. Before I die, I really would like to see... You can't name a person. I heard you. I know, me too. Yeah. Gosh, yeah, you're right. A person. There's many people. You could fill in that blank with the names of a lot of people. But a place, where would you like to see? Would it be a place you've been to before? Would you like to see a place again that you've been to? Would you like to see someplace you've only read about or seen in photographs or maybe in movies? Movies make places look really different than they actually are. I can tell you this from living in New York. Movies can make New York look horrible, and they can make New York look glamorous. And the truth is, I'm going to tell you the truth from somebody who has lived in New York for a lot. I mean, I know New York as well as I know Florida. Well, I don't really know Florida that well. I know Ocala, Florida. I know this little town, but I don't really know the whole state. But I do know New York City. So let me tell you what New York City is. It's not like the gangster movies, and it's not like Friends, where everything is happy. It is, guess what? It's like your town. It's like any town. And you say, no, it's not, because it's more crowded. No, it's not. It's got more to do. Let me ask you this. How many grocery stores do you think I went to when I lived in New York? Maybe 3? I think I go to more grocery stores now here in Little Ocala than I ever did up there. So grocery stores? Okay. How many, oh gosh, what else do people go to frequently? How many movie theaters do you think I went to? I think I went to 2 in New York. When you go to the movies, how many do you go to? Yeah, it's not like I went to everything that was there. What about the traffic? Traffic is horrible in New York. Well, yeah, that's true. But guess what? I have had many days right here where traffic was just horrendous. Right here. I mean, just down the block from here, it's been horrendous. Oh, yeah, but in New York you have blah, blah, blah. Oh, and this is what I love. The best pizza in the world is in New York. And I will say, wait a minute. Is it, arguing about pizza for people is like arguing about politics. You're not going to win. But nevertheless, let me tell you this. There's a pizza place in walking distance to where I live, right here in Ocala, Florida. It's called Little Joey's. And their pizza is absolutely delicious. I know a rabbi, and he tells me that the bagels from Brooklyn are the best bagels in the world. And I said to him, oh, come on. We have some really good bagels right here in Ocala. And he rolled his eyes and said one of those Yiddish words like oy vey or something. And he just didn't want to believe it. He just didn't want to believe what I was telling him. He's so brainwashed. All right, let me fold this. Make this my card from my brother Bill. From Samuel H. Boardman. Oh, it came out pretty good. See, once I folded it, it came out pretty good. Samuel H. Boardman State Scenic Corridor. Here's my card for today. Going to my brother Bill, out in Oregon, near Brookings. I'm looking at the internet now. All right, well, that came out all right. You see those rocks right there? Let me point them out. They don't look like the photograph, but that's okay. They're hazy. And I like the sky with a little bit of orange in it. And the trees came out okay. All right, I'm happy with it. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for all the kind things you say. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.